Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending where you are joining us from the world today. And welcome to your bi-weekly Decrypting Crypto live stream, where we bring you the latest news highlights, Twitter highlights, and latest adoption highlights happening all around the world. So you are always up to date with what's happening in the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to start off with Michael bringing us the news highlights. Over to you, Michael.
Awesome. Welcome, everyone. How are we? I hope everyone's good. So, look, first story today is the Bitcoin Lightning Network capacity crosses 3,900 BTC, making new all-time high. So this is basically the layer 2 network that's operating on top of Bitcoin, and it's showing that it is growing even if it's slow and in bursts. And the layer 2 functionality is improving reliability, decreasing fees, and increasing accessibility. So it's great that it is progressing. Look, even in a bear market, stuff continues to get built. So and the Lightning Network is the best use case for a layer 2 technology for Bitcoin. Basically, it allows you to send any money across the internet instantly and at near zero cost. It's going to be significantly disrupt the payments industry, particularly. So the adoption isn't super fast on it, but it is definitely bullish that it is progressing. Next one is Tim Draper. So he's saying here that he's still optimistic that Bitcoin will reach 250,000. So this was a recent interview with a well-known trader, Scott Melker, and he also predicted that more women would start using Bitcoin as well, and this would expand its user base. And so, yeah, roughly he's saying that around 51% of the wealth is controlled by women in the US. So it's not far-fetched to predict that they'll be pushing Bitcoin higher. So it is an interesting observation from Tim, actually. As the technology becomes more user-friendly, I think it opens up a whole new set of users. And I do agree that women are probably underrepresented in the crypto space. I do think that they could have a big spike as things start to become a little bit more mainstream, I guess. I mean, if you think about it, digital currencies is an online, it is an online currency that you can use, and things like shopping. I know how much women like to shop. So yes, I definitely think that's incoming. MicroStrategy CEO, so Michael Saylor, some of you probably know about him, stating that he's going to continue buying Bitcoin, basically. So it doesn't really matter whether it goes down or up, even if it's at the top, he's going to continue buying. And if you don't know how much he holds currently, it's about 130,000 Bitcoins, which is worth over 3.7 billion. And a lot of it has been debt funded. So as you can see, he's super bullish. And I think when you understand that Bitcoin is the hardest form of money humankind's ever created, and you know that adoption is only going to continue to grow, it doesn't really matter where you buy, guys. It doesn't matter where you buy, low, high, because you're holding it as a store of value longer term. So definitely reinforces the points we've made recently around dollar cost averaging into reliable assets, because over time they are going to go up in value. The next one is top securities regulator warns inflation may push investors into risky assets like Bitcoin. So the chair of the European Securities and Markets Authority, her name's Verena Ross, has stated that the current economic condition characterized by high inflation might act as a catalyst for increasing investments in Bitcoin. And look, so it should. I mean, inflation is really nothing than a form of theft that takes money from the average person and gives it to the super wealthy. And Bitcoin is one of the very few mechanisms that can maintain its purchasing value over time. So, we definitely think it's going to play a critical role in fighting inflation. And when you got countries like, Venezuela or Argentina, where basically their wealth has been pretty much taken away from them, you can understand why some of this type of technology gives these people hope. I mean, in Argentina, they know their currency is going to be worth less tomorrow, so they're spending everything they can. So there's really no way for them to save unless they can turn to crypto. The last news article today is going to be on Bill Miller, a billionaire who says that Bitcoin is probably going to be insurance against financial catastrophe. So he considers it to be policy against financial catastrophe. He also talks about how when the US pulled out of Afghanistan, Western Union stopped sending remittances there or taking them from Afghanistan. But if you had Bitcoin, you were fine. Bitcoin was fine. You could send it anywhere as long as you had a phone. It was no issues. And he also talks about how when the Fed started printing money, and other things were struggling, Bitcoin was running quite fine. In fact, it really started to take off because people realized the scarcity element of Bitcoin, that if you could move your value there from the fiat world, which was just getting money, which was just getting printed and devaluing, then you could actually maintain your value. So, and look, we still think it's going to happen longer term where fiat currency is going to struggle to hold its value. And you got countries like Lebanon, Venezuela that have had their wealth destroyed as well. So, in fact, at the height of the turmoil in Lebanon, I'm sure Wasim will know a lot about this, they were blowing up ATM machines because they couldn't withdraw their money. So, you know, Bitcoin is a technology that provides freedom, especially in these types of situations. Going to bring in Matt now to move on to the Twitter highlights.
Thank you, Michael. Yes, so Robert Kiyosaki talks about how the stimulus checks in America has made sort of workers not want to work, I guess, and it makes total sense. And this is obviously going to cause inflation. And I personally believe that, you know, a recession or depression is probably around the corner, and it's something that's unfortunately maybe needed to reset the economy, but it's going to have a big effect on you know, the general pop. So it'll be interesting to see what the US government comes up with on June 10th when their new inflation metrics come out. So I expect a bit of a market shake up around that June 10th. So if you're watching this, note that down on your calendar. Tone Vays, a very big crypto bull, talked about some of his time in Turkey recently, where the power went out. He believes that the obvious Russian and Ukraine war has had an impact already on some of those Eastern European countries, and it's probably causing some issues with you know, being able to pay for electricity, gas, and so forth. Moving on, so we have Will Clemente. This image, I guess, represents the standard base, or sorry, I should say the currency that was in power for, I guess, previous generations and previous centuries. And right now, the US dollar is the currency that is, I guess, the world reserve currency. And most of these world reserve currencies only have about a life cycle of 250 years. And he believes, obviously, the US currency is now starting its decline and probably won't be the world reserve currency very soon. And he's added Bitcoin in there. I don't believe that Bitcoin will be the world reserve currency because I think it's a store of value like gold. But we might see something, you know, like Doge if Elon pushes hard enough. I don't think so, but we will need a solid currency to take us forward. It could be the yen in the future. They are growing as a superpower, so watch out for this space in regards to seeing where the US dollar goes in the next few years. On to the next tweet. Lard Davis talks about Do Kwon, who was the creator of Luna, who recently just launched Luna 2.0. People have been buying it up like crazy. It's currently sitting at about $9. But very interestingly, why would you reinvest, I guess, into someone that's already rug pulled or created so much chaos and lost billions of investor dollars with Luna Classic, which is what it's called now. So just be careful, guys. This is why it's really important to even jump into our free course. We've got some videos on how to spot some scams, but you really want to find either a mentor or educate yourself on how you can spot some of these scams in the crypto market, because a lot of new people entering always try and look for those quick wins such as Shiba and so forth. And lastly, we have Michael Saylor here. Can you lose money buying Bitcoin? The answer is Bitcoin is money. Bitcoin is like gold. It has all the qualities of sound money due to its limited supply. And if you buy Bitcoin using your fiat currency, you're just transferring your assets from a weak store of value to a strong storage of wealth. That's it for the Twitter highlights.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, so now over to the adoption highlights, and what we're seeing here is JP Morgan is looking into using blockchain technologies to tokenize stocks. So what they're looking at doing is using blockchain technology to be able to allow the settlement of collateral outside of the stock market trading hours. Now, this is great because it allows for faster settlements for both the banks and the users. And this is something that, you know, a lot of us in crypto keep talking about, that with crypto, you can have faster settlements. You don't have to wait for weeks and days like it is right now in the traditional financial market. So this is a big win for people, and more banks are starting to look into it. It's also worth noting that JP Morgan also earlier this week stated that they're replacing real estate, they're replacing crypto assets over real estate assets as their preferred alternate asset class. So this is very, very bullish. JP Morgan was very anti-crypto a few years ago, and we're warning a lot of people, even saying that they will never offer it to their clients. And now we can see them being, driving the crypto adoption around the banking industry. Next one is a very good news story with Binance now getting regulatory approval in Italy. So for you guys that don't know who Binance is, they're probably the largest crypto exchange in the world, a centralized crypto exchange in the world. They're very safe. They're a very good exchange. And one of the things that happened to them recently was they got into a little bit of trouble because they haven't had regulatory approval in every single country around the world. So some countries start to block them. I know some people in Canada are not allowed to use Binance. In America, they've got to use a specific Binance.us URL, which has very limited use according to American rules. But what they've done is, instead of shying away, they've turned around and said, you know what, we believe in crypto, we know it's going to be the way of the future, so we're going to go out and get regulatory approval in many, many countries. So they had regulatory approval in France, and now they've got it in Italy, and this just proves their focus and their commitment to bringing to allowing more and more people to get involved in crypto. So good on you, Binance. Next one is, yes, this is also an interesting one. So one of the things that we've seen in over the past few months with the whole war in Europe is sanctions being used by Western governments or governments around the world against Russia. Now, Russia's been toying with the idea of saying they're going to accept Bitcoin for payments. Earlier in the year, they said they'll accept Bitcoin for payments for energy with friendly countries like Turkey and China. Now they're talking more about allowing their companies to allow for cryptocurrency payment for anything that they want to export. This is the perfect use case that we're seeing over and over in the world, where people are moving away from traditional financial markets, where it is centralized, it is heavily controlled, and you can have your assets frozen if the powers that be decide that you're an enemy. And we can see now that Russia is looking at using the alternate financial system that's being built right now to show that you don't need to be under control of whatever is going on in the world. So that's what's happening over in Russia. Bitcoin, Dogecoin, XRP now accepted as payment by luxury tour operator Scott Dunn. So this is another bullish story where we're seeing more and more companies accepting Bitcoin and accepting cryptocurrencies as payment for their services. These guys, excuse me, these guys are doing a joint venture with Nuvi, who now any person who has a Nuvi wallet, has any cryptocurrency there, can use that to pay to book honeymoons, luxury holidays, and things like that all around the world. And we're going to see more and more of these companies do this. Last week we spoke about a fashion brand. Now we're speaking about a travel agency, and more of these companies will accept it, which means we can spend our crypto easier. And last one is DraftKings CEO that said the company is now accepting cryptocurrency payments. So DraftKings is a online sports betting company in the US, and what they're doing now is they start to investigate and look at how they can use and accept crypto payments for their services. Now, they understand there's regulatory issues that they have, especially in America, with different states having different laws. So they're working their way through that. But again, just shows again to what Michael was saying earlier, that more and more cryptocurrency payments are being accepted by retailers and by businesses, we're going to see a huge spike in crypto. So even though we are in a bear market, we are, the adoption keeps happening. And for those of us that are in the long term, we're going to benefit in the next 3 to 5 years. With that, I'll pass it back over to Matt to go through the market analysis.
Thank you, Wasim. All righty. So in last week's live stream, I spoke about I would see Bitcoin push to the upside as it has, rather than the downside. I don't think this is the bottom that we had back here on May 12th, around that $25,000. I do think we're going to have another leg down, but this is just a bit of a relief rally because we've had 8 consecutive weeks of red candles for Bitcoin, which has never been done in history. And since we obviously reached this local low a few days ago, Bitcoin's pumped up about 15%. In the short term, I do expect a bit of a pullback, most likely to the value area high of this range, which is also a Fibonacci line of the 382. So I expect a little bit of a pullback to about sort of 30,600-ish, but I do believe that we will continue to the upside for the next week or so, and then possibly roll over when we hit that sort of $35,000 range. It is possible for us to possibly get to about 40,000, but I think less likely, and that's what I'm looking at in the short term.
Alrighty, that's you for the update, is it, Matt?
That's it for me.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so let's move on to the addressing some fear, uncertainty, and doubt. In fact, did you want to talk about the Fed meeting coming up?
Yeah, I do think that the Fed is looking to increase its basis points by at least 50, possibly even 75. And if not 75, it'll at least be 50 on the next 2 consecutive months. Normally what that does is a bit of a shakeout in the regular markets, especially in the S&P. If I just bring that up, we had a bit of a rally as well in the S&P last week, which is good. We broke out of this downward channel, but I do think that it's going to roll over once again, much like Bitcoin, once those interest rates do get released. So as I said at the start of the stream, keep the June 10th in your calendar. Watch out for the market that day. Could be a day for some selling, especially if you've been hodling this entire way. I do believe that we're going to have further downside. So I'll be taking some more of my altcoins and Bitcoin off the table to buy back lower.
So, Mr. Crypto Oracle, should we construe that as financial advice?
No, hashtag no financial advice here.
Okay.
That's only my personal, that's what I'm doing. Let's just say that.
Absolutely, guys. And look, we do our best to try and kind of gauge what's going to happen in the markets, but ultimately everyone needs to make their own decisions. So just make sure that you're not construing any of it as financial advice, because we too do make mistakes now and then, even though Oracle doesn't get it right all the time. Moving on to the one of the other FUD items that we did want to talk about was another rug pull. So this seems to be a regular thing that's happening just about every week at the moment. There seems to be another one. So this one was LockPay Financial, and this is the chart. So this is what happens when you get rugged, guys. So, a lot of hype going here, everyone piling on the money, and then basically out here start to get rug pulled. So you can see that, the tokens, I don't know, it's going to go to zero eventually. I'm not sure why people are still trading it, but this is what happens particularly when you rush into projects, you haven't done the right research or whatever. We've got it's a 10-point research checklist that we're covering in an event coming up. I'll talk about that in a second. So it is really important to do the right level of research, because honestly, for every one project that we find that is a legitimate one, especially in the decentralized finance space, there's at least 10 or 15 that we come across that are just scams or flat out rug pulls or just basically no good. So, it is so important to make sure you are educated on that. In fact, I will just roll into the breakout solution updates on that, and just give a bit of a plug to the event that we have coming up in a few weeks. So basically what we've decided to do is to put together exactly the steps that we've used to successfully create wealth, especially over the last 5 years. A lot of this has been based on what I've done with my personal portfolio, basically 20xing it over the last, since 2017, and generating more passive income in a month than some people do in a year. So we're basically revealing everything on this session, guys. So the 5 steps on how you can leverage digital assets to create wealth like the super rich do. So what's the knowledge that you need to know? What are the strategies you need to grow your portfolio? How to then leverage that to generate hundreds of dollars a day in passive income, or thousands in my case. And then how to actually protect the gains that you've actually worked so hard to create, which is probably the biggest trap that most crypto investors fall into, as far as I've seen. So also, we're giving away over $60,000 US in prizes at this event, guys. So this is not an event to miss. Definitely not. So the link's there, breakoutnow.co/event. and we hope to see you there. So I think we're going to wrap up a little bit earlier on this today, guys. So who wants to throw in a few closing words for us?
Over to you, Matt.
Yeah, so basically, I think we touched on this last week. If you are new to crypto, you should know that Bitcoin is basically the godfather, and your aim, not financial advice once again, is to basically accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible. You've probably seen a lot of alts suffering against Bitcoin, and what I mean by that is the value of losses in your altcoins has been greater than that of your Bitcoin. We've seen that because of Bitcoin dominance, obviously, basically come up from 40% to about 40%, 46% as of today. So normally what you tend to see in the bear markets is, if you don't want to sell out of crypto completely, and I never recommend that anyways, not financial advice once again, is always remain, have a minimal amount in Bitcoin. That's what I'm personally doing, and Ethereum, because they are the gold and silver in our space. And I try and reduce my altcoin position to about 10% of what I was holding during the bull market. But normally in a bull market, any profits that I do make in altcoins, I transfer straight into Bitcoin because I know that's going to be around for the long term.
Yeah. Thank you. And guys, on top of that, if you are new to the Cryptoverse and you are new to learning about crypto, first of all, make sure you smash the like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you are always getting the updates. Click on the notification bell. And make sure that you are joining the Decrypting Crypto platform, where you get all the latest information. You get the basic understanding of why we are so bullish on crypto, why it's making headlines almost on a daily basis. It's no longer something in the shadows that people would speak about only in the bull market. It is now well on its way to becoming mainstream. We're over the 15% adoption. I was at a meeting this morning with about 50 people. And as soon as you mention crypto, everybody's interested. A lot of people out there wanting to learn, wanting to understand. And this is exactly what we do. We help you guys get in there, understand what to do, get the mindset right, get the strategies right, because when the next bull cycle comes, that's where generation wealth is going to be there. So jump on decryptingcrypto.com. Make sure you like and share and comment on our posts so that more and more people know about this.
Yeah, well said, guys. Nothing further from me this week, so we'll wrap up. Thanks for jumping on, and we'll see you Friday, 7:30 a.m. Australian Eastern, or you can catch the recording. Thanks, guys.
See you guys. Peace out.